Today is Sunday, April 10th. I thought today was the 8th. It's not. Long story short, I sat down on April 1st to start draft 5 of my high fantasy project that I call Project DE to kick off both draft 5 and my Camp NaNo goal, which was to edit 30 chapters during the month of April because there are 30 days in April. I thought that sounded like a good way to pace it out. And I sat down and I looked at the first chapter and there was something that I didn't know how to change. And then my brain basically went, I don't really want to do this right now. And now I haven't done anything in the last 10 days. So I attempted to start on April 1st and didn't. Which brings us to today, which is April 10th. AKA 10 days into Camp NaNo, and I have not started on my Camp NaNo goals or draft 5. So that all being said, today I'm going to do at least chapter 1 and just kind of see what we can get done. Cool? Great. Right now it is 1:13 p.m. I started out my morning at like noon because I hung out with some friends last night and it's a Sunday and so I can sleep in a little bit, and by sleeping in I still have to like wake up and check my phone about every 30 minutes or so, starting around like 7, just in case something for work pops up, but it hasn't so far, so I was able to stay in bed for a good long while. And then I posted a reel on Instagram for my personal account, and then I posted for my part-time job, which I will also need to post again for today, and I need to make a note of that. And then I started cleaning my kitchen a little bit just because I'm in a very like cleaning mood right now. And so I started doing some of my dishes. I moved my laundry from the laundry machine to the dryer and have just kind of like started becoming a person today. This is my smoothie that I'm drinking right now, and while I'm drinking this, I'm going to sit down and start on chapter 1 of draft 5. So without any further ado, because it is April 10th, let's get into this. I successfully just finished editing chapter 1 of draft 5, which means that draft 5 is now, we will say, well underway, or at least it is underway, and I'm feeling very, very proud of that. It did take me an hour and 10 minutes to do chapter 1, and it was a more interesting process than I thought it was going to be. I found myself really enjoying it, which I wasn't ever expecting to not enjoy it, but I was really enjoying the process. I did make a couple of notes when I was note-taking in the reread of draft 4, and then as I was going through the chapter and making some changes and rereading, I was realizing that there are still a couple of things that I need to look up and change and decide on. And so one of those things was I was looking up the moon phases to make sure that I was calling things the right names. I ended up pulling up the Hemingway editor, which basically just tells you how readable portions are. And occasionally I would copy and paste over a paragraph or two and just kind of see the readability on it. And that helped me figure out some ways to shorten some really long sentences. And then I was kind of having the realization that, like, especially for the first half to 2/3 of this book, the storyline is fairly solid. So this is my draft to make it better. And so I did find myself rewriting a lot of portions just on like the paragraph level, and reorganizing things and cutting out some words and just repositioning things so that the flow felt better, that there weren't any choppy portions in it, because I might as well, if I'm going through and editing, I might as well be editing on the word level if I'm pretty certain that this is going to stay, because I'm very happy with the opening of the book now and have been since I wrote it in draft 4. And so I think that this chapter is now very solid. I tightened up all of the portions that I wasn't as sure about. I was also making notes on what I'm calling things, just because I know that there's a couple inconsistencies throughout the book because I wasn't totally sure. And so now I've almost started like a DE Bible, which is what some authors call it, where it's basically the guide of like what character names are, what you call people, what you call different places, what certain names of things are, frequent sayings that come up, like just those kind of things. I've started keeping a list now so that I can consult that as I continue going going through draft 5 and editing just to make sure that everything is as consistent as possible. But I realized that there are at least 2 character names just in chapter 1 that I want to rename, just because I don't think that they fit as well as I want them to with the other names that are currently in the story. And then there's a potential 3rd character that I'm not totally sure needs a name, but probably wouldn't hurt to have one. And so now I will need to look up and try to rename 3 of my characters. But overall, I'm very, very, very happy with how editing chapter 1 went. My chapter did go from being 2,661 words at the beginning of editing to 2,643 words, which means that I removed a net of 18 words. I know that I was deleting portions and shortening sentences, but then I was also like adding a couple words, but I did cut out 18 words, which is moving in the right direction because this book is rather long. I'm not trying to cut down too many words on this pass through, but if I find portions where I can trim things down, I will be, because I am fully aware that my book is a little bit too long for traditional publishing where it currently stands, especially for a debut author. But I'm not worrying about word count right now. It's just a cool thing that I was able to cut out like 18 words. It's now 3 p.m. I'm going to do some more cleaning and then hopefully work on renaming some characters. Guys, also look at how cute my birthday card from my parents was. Fresh air, time to think, good memories, new plans. You've got a brand new year ahead of you and you're just the kind of girl, smiley face, to make the most of it, so go for it. So now it lives next to my TV, so I see it all the time. And so that I can look outside and see the mountains. I am just getting back from the hot tub. I just let my oven burn off for like 2 hours, and so it still smells like chemicals. Fun update, my oven doesn't work. So now it's like 9 p.m. I need to do something for work, and then I want to get started on working on another chapter because I am like 10 chapters behind. But because I was having such a fun time with it earlier today, I think I'm gonna have more fun with it in continuing, and I still need to do things like figuring out character names. But I also got to go on a walk with one of my friends, which was very fun. And so it's been overall a very good, very productive day. Today is April 15th. I don't think I've talked to you guys since the 10th or the 11th. I have only edited 1.5 chapters so far this month. My goal was 30. And so I'm halfway through the month and only 1.5 chapters in. And so what that means for me today is that I have already started doing some editing today. I got about half a chapter in. I've also done some cleaning around my apartment because, you know, that has to happen every couple days. And now I'm on my way to go get some sunlight and go for a walk around the park. And then I'm gonna come back and do some more editing. And I'm very much looking forward to my productive creativity today. Just finished working on a chapter tonight, which means that at the end of April 15th, I am now 2 chapters into my goal for Camp Nano. This is what my graph on the Nano website is looking like. It's not stellar, but I am 5,227 words into editing, when technically I should be closer to 21,300-ish. And this is my graph. I basically did 2,500 today, and I did 2,500 on the 10th. Ideally, that means that I still want to do about 28 more chapters in the next like 15 or so days. It is April 17th. It is 7:28 in the morning. I woke up at 6:30 today. That is the earliest that I've gotten up in a very long time. But I am up this early because I am going skiing on the last day at one of the resorts here in Utah. I did not vlog this yesterday, but I did do about half of a 4,000 word chapter, and I'm looking forward to finishing that chapter today and then getting those words inputted, because that will put me at like a solid 9,000 so far for the story. My goal is still to like hit like 40,000, because I think that's roughly how long my first 30-ish chapters are. But we're gonna start off with some skiing and then see what kind of editing I get up to later. Good afternoon. It is now April 18th. Yesterday when I went skiing was the 17th, and I ended up not doing any creative work after skiing because we ended up skiing for almost the entire day. We were there for the first chairlift of the day and then stayed until about 30 minutes before the resort closed. The skiing was amazing. The snow quality was amazing. I sunburned my nose and my cheeks, and it might just be windburn, but I'm pretty sure I sunburned my nose, which was interesting. And then I was pretty tired and had several other things that I needed to take care of last night, and so I didn't end up doing any creative work. However, today I just finished the chapter that I started doing a couple days ago, and I was able to cut out about 120 words from that chapter, which means that chapter 3 of this goal for Camp Nano is now done. Yes, we are in day 18. Theoretically, if I had stuck with my goal, I would be on chapter 18 today, but that's not happening. But I feel very accomplished with finishing this chapter. It was my first long chapter of the book, and now I'm gonna go for a walk because it is 73 degrees today. 73 degrees today, and I was literally skiing yesterday. That's just wild. But I'm gonna go for a walk, and then my intention is to work on the next chapter later today because the next chapter is only about 1,600 words, which I think should be very doable. And then the one after that is 300, the one after that is 600. Like, I could get a couple chapters done today. But first, we're gonna go for a walk. Just finished eating dinner after taking my walk and running to the grocery store, and I'm currently working on editing this very video, and I just realized that I have not renamed the characters that I said that I was going to rename at the beginning of this video, so I think that's what's next for me. Maybe not making final decisions on new names, but at least looking at names a little bit to try and get some ideas for what I might want to rename these characters to. So, there are at least 2 character names that I want to change. One of them is a POV character, and then one of them is that character's friend. And then I could potentially come up with a name for a baker. I don't know if I want to do that or not. I don't think it's relevant to the story, but it might just read better if he has a name. And then I could potentially try to rename one of the kingdoms and potentially try to name one of the continents, if not 2 of the continents. So that's 6 potential names. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go, and I don't really know how I want to go about this. One of the main reasons that I wanted to change one of the character names was because one of my beta readers actually left a comment in her notes that was asking if it was the high fantasy spelling of Jessica. And now I can't unsee it, and so now I don't want this to be this character's name. I also don't think that that name or the other POV character's name like go with any of the other names in the story. I don't think it kind of like fits the vibe. I don't know how to better explain it than that, but I just don't think it blends as well in with the story as my other names do. And so what I'm gonna do is pull up the document that I have designated for names. I'm also going to search my notes app for names because I know that I keep occasional notes as I come across names that I really like, and then I will go through these, and then if I still need other names, I can try to pull up like a baby names website or something and try to find character names. But this is where things get tricky. It is not one of my strong suits to name characters, and so the fact that I have not only named characters but now will need to rename characters is like not a super fun thought. But I know that they need to change because it doesn't read as well as I want it to. But my names document is like 8 pages long, and I think it's like 6 pages of names and then like 2 pages of notes. Well, now I'm experiencing something that I was not expecting, and that's that I didn't remember what my characters' names meant. And then that just threw a wrench in things. So my non-POV character's name, I was able to pull a couple from a baby names website that I like. However, the ones that I like the most are too similar to one of the other characters' names. And I really like that character's name, so I don't want to change hers. That just means that now I'm in a tough spot because I liked the meaning behind that name. And so that is what I'm now continuing to look for. And then I just looked up the current POV character's name meaning, and I don't like that. And it's very unoriginal. It's not like a special meaning or anything. And I just want to change it, but I don't know what I want to change it to. I literally have no idea what to even Google for this character. Okay, that one I kind of like, but that's also similar to the other characters' names. I have issues with naming characters because I have certain letters that I'm drawn to for names to start with, and then I'm drawn to how certain names end. I'm drawn to certain letters being in names. And then I run into the issue that like so many of the names that I like are similar. And so I shouldn't use them for characters that will be seen all in the same POV and or the same story even, which is why I have an entire document dedicated to names. However, only some of them work for this story that I'm writing. Like, they're not crazy fantasy names or anything, but they are uncommon enough that I'm assuming that most people who read it will not know somebody that has that name, which is a huge part of why I wanted to rename the character's name that sounds kind of like Jessica, because my beta reader thought that it was the high fantasy version of Jessica. Naming characters is hard. Ah, geez. I'm also wondering if I should change these names during this draft or if I should change them all after the draft, because I'm worried that if I go through now and replace them, then as I'm like editing and rewriting things, I'm just gonna forget and type in the old name instead of the new name, but I don't know. For my POV character, I did find a name that's very similar to her current name that's kind of fun and a little bit more similar than to her sister's name, but I don't think it's in a bad way. And so at least that's going in the right direction, but I still have no idea what to name this other character. Why does naming characters have to be so hard and complicated? I'm on draft 5 and I'm still trying to figure out character names. I know who the characters are and I know like what they're about and everything, but like why can I not figure this out? I just think I haven't come across the right name yet, and that's so frustrating with how long I've looked across many drafts now. These characters have already been renamed to their current names, which I now don't like. Okay, I have another thing I'm gonna search. This website is seriously trying to tell me that the name Fedora means that somebody is a divine heavenly gift. Since when? Okay, maybe, but like, I've never heard of that name before. It's offering me Fedora, Fio, and Feodora, which is better, but like, no. No. I wish that I could just find a website that knew exactly what I wanted and would just tell me the name, or just give me a couple options instead of me going through like 316 baby names with this meaning. This is just ridiculous. And Feodosia? Feodosia? No. No. They're all over the place. They're all over the place with all kinds of spellings, all kinds of sounding names. I just like Gerbax. I actually like that name. Different name, not Gerbax, but a different name. Hang on. Okay, well, I actually just found one that I kind of like after I was complaining about enough of the names on this website. However, it also ends in an A, and I'm already struggling with that like the 3 main characters that show up in one of these POVs will now all have names that end in A, which would be fine if they sounded different enough, but they're all somewhat similar, like in length, in sound, in the letters that are used, the fact that they end in an A. So maybe then for my POV character, I need to go in a different direction, but literally every name that I've pulled and written down for her ends in an A. Why is this so hard? Hananiah? What is that? Hanamiel, Hananiah, Habitala, Anaya, Inona, Isadora, Janeki, Jekka, Janice, Janelli, Jessany, Jessachia. This website does not tell me the origins of names. Oh, just found the one that I currently named a character that sounds too much like Jessica. Man, this is so difficult. Why do I like so many names with A's in them? I also struggle with like C and K names. I just have the ones that I like. I also really like I names, apparently. I learned that while I was writing DE, which is the book that I'm working on. But like, why do I have issues with this? I'm also purely going off of just like a hunch and a gut feel with like, as I'm reading these to see if I should even pull them for my list or not. This is ridiculous. Why are there so many names? It's like a blessing and a curse. I kind of like names that start with T, but I'm not liking any of these. There's something that's very specific about a T name that just seems like kind of out of place for my world. Can't tell you why, it just feels like it. Like Theoline, Theone, Tice, Tia, Tione, Tricani, Todorka. That one's kind of funny. Like, what are these? Why is this so difficult? I just got to the end of this list and I am no clearer than when I started. I did look up one of the names that I like and am confident in, and I still like that meaning, which is good. So that name will stay, which is encouraging because everything else is stressing me out. That's also frustrating because the name ends in A. So it just makes the other 2 names harder to place. I think I am pretty happy with one of the names that I came up for the non-POV character. And I might have to stop looking there for tonight, or like right now at least, because I'm getting stressed out about not knowing what to name my characters. And I'm still on chapter like, what, 4 of this thing, of my edits. And so I have plenty of time to figure it out and just see if I come across another name in the next several weeks or months of editing, or if I can like figure something out, or if something comes to me. Okay, I'm scrolling through my names document now, and I just came across the name Bueller, or Bueller. Why did I like that at the point in time that I put this in there? Everybody has it in their minds of like Bueller's Day Off. So nobody will ever be able to like completely disjoint that character name from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Also, as I'm going through this list, you can tell where I started when I started making this list, because the first like grouping of last names is so fantasy and like what I was reading when I was growing up and everything. And now it's really funny to read these because I'm like, no, I don't want to use the majority of these. It's just funny how much this has even changed. Also, you can tell that similar thing with my girl names on here, because it starts out with Kayla, Tiffany, Jasmine, Zoe, and then we get into like more interesting names that I still like, and pretty much every other one is a K name, a K or a C name. I have an addiction. I actually have an addiction to KC names. Maybe not an addiction, we'll just call it a problem for now. Okay, I'm gonna stop looking at character names right now because I'm getting stressed out that I can't figure this out. I just finished editing chapter 4. It is the introductory chapter for one of my characters. This story has 3 point of view characters. The other 2 were introduced in the first 3 chapters, and then this 4th chapter was the 3rd character being introduced. I did end up adding about 50 words, which brought it up to a little bit over 1,700 words. I think it's effective in what it needs to get across. This is the first chapter so far that needed like paragraphs and portions of it to be rewritten, but I did that successfully and I was very excited about it. I think that the changes that were made is very helpful. It was mostly just adding foreshadowing to stuff that happens later and kind of altering a couple of things that are more congruent with things that I actually think happen later in the story. But I would say that went very, very well. However, it is still April 18th and I am 4 chapters in to draft 5. However, very happy with the progress that's being made in draft 5, just, you know, on the 4th chapter instead of the 18th. This is something that I'm going to continue to work on over the next several days. My goal for April Camp NaNoWriMo was somewhat arbitrary. I kind of just pulled a number out of thin air, not really knowing how long these edits would take me and not knowing about how I was going to be feeling in the beginning of the month and just not wanting to start on this. But I've been feeling really good recently and I think I'm going to continue moving in that direction and making progress. This is where I'm sitting at the end of today at about 11,000 words edited, and technically this graph is showing that I should be closer to about 24,000 words done. I don't know what I'm going to end the month on, but I will continue to keep you guys updated with these writing vlogs. So if you are not already subscribed, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button. Let me know where you are at in your either April Camp Nano goals or your writing goals for April in general. And if you've made it this far into the video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button because it really supports my channel. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.